Howdy, guys. I think I'm live. How are y'all doing? A wonderful Monday evening for y'all. To y'all, you realize it's the last Monday of January. Man, 2021's flying so far. The further we get away from 2020, so much the better. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Let me just start off with a big ol' SKD 143. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love the fellow Big Brother fans. We got a little Big Brother news to talk about. I'm figuring we'll talk about that a little bit later this evening. But I get so excited now that we're starting to get into Big Brother season. People are getting excited, thinking about Big Brother 23. Isn't that amazing? That's fantastic. How are y'all all doing out here? I'm running through the comments to see how Ma's out here. David Buchanan, Anthony, howdy. Don, Angie, howdy, Angie. Ma, Don, Amanda, howdy, Amanda. How are you, David? As well, Brian, I owe you something. I'll talk to you later about that. Let's see. Oh, hope y'all are all doing fantastic. And howdy, Jack, as well. Man, let's see. Let me change that. There we go. What a great week so far. Hope everyone's doing fantastic. As we wait for a few more people to get in here, I'll go ahead and start as I always do. Talk a little bit about what's going on this day in history, this day in terms of celebration. Lori, howdy, my neighbor over in Austin. Hope y'all are doing all right. Not that far down the road. You're what, 3.5 hours? So it's funny for those of you who don't know. In Texas, we measure distance differently than people in other states, other parts of the country. We don't measure it on distance. Oh, that's 30 miles away or whatever. We measure it in time. Oh, Austin, that's 3.5 hours away. Midland, that's 10 hours away. That's how we measure distance down here because everything is just so far away. From Houston, it would take me 10 hours to drive to the southern tip of Texas. Probably take me, Lord, I don't know, 12, 13 hours to get out to the western tip of Texas out by El Paso. It's a big old state. So we got a lot of distances that we try to measure. And Lori's from snowy Illinois. Well, we don't have that down here. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't even tell you this, Lori, because it may make you a little jealous. I don't know. Maybe you like the snow. I think I'd like the snow if I was on skis. If I've got a shovel or a snowblower, maybe not so much. But here in Houston today, it hit 81 degrees. We had to run our air conditioner in the house. So I guess our winter's overtime. It's time for me to get the gardening tools out and start planting my seeds because we'll have one more cold freeze just to tease people sometime in the next month or so. But other than that, it was quick winter for us down here. And Andy's call shouting out from Nevada. We used to go to Las Vegas every single year, Sharon and I, until Sharon got pregnant with Kelly, our first child. We went out there to celebrate, a baby moon, they call it now. Back then it wasn't that. It's just like, oh, let's just go have a trip. We went out there then. That was in what, 1992? We haven't been to Las Vegas since. So one of these days, we're going to head back out and visit once again. So let's see, Lori, two Buc-ee's away. For those of you who don't know what Buc-ee's is, it's the biggest. You can't imagine how big these travel stops are. Picture a 7-Eleven Ubered out 100 times, 50, 60 gas pumps, just gigantic. 50 yards worth of beef jerky and kolaches, which is a type of pastry, things like that. Buc-ee's is quite amazing. Brian says he went to Whataburger yesterday in Phoenix, all based off your recommendations. It was like what I would make. I enjoyed it. Good, Brian. I'm glad you liked it. I'll vouch for the Whataburgers here in Texas. Once you start getting too far away, like over in Phoenix, hopefully they maintain some of the same standards and recipes and everything else. But yeah, loving my Whataburger. I'm ready for COVID to be over so I can go hit them just a little bit more. One of these days. But yeah, they brag that they've got 30,000 different combinations, the way you can add all the different things on it and everything else. All right, I'm kind of already getting off a tangent. I think we got one. So I wonder how long it'd take me to get to Texas. I'm in Florida. I pretty much know that, Jack, because we used to drive to Disney World when we go there when the family was younger and all that. And from Houston to Orlando, it took, I want to say 15 hours, something like that. Seems like it usually would take about 10 hours or so to get into the Florida Panhandle. I don't know. We made some stops along the way, so it's a little tough to tell. It's a good long trip. One of the toughest trips that we ever did was I actually because I live here in Houston, and I've got got a lot of NASA people all around us. And we're friends with some of the people who are astronauts and things like that. And so one of the astronauts, a guy named Paul Lockhart was his name, went up on one of the shuttles and invited our family to go as special guest of his family to watch the launch from the VIP section and everything. Well, the first time we were supposed to do the launch, unfortunately, I was teaching a school in oil field, and I couldn't get out of it. And I felt so bad. I said, I can't, it's only me. I'm the only person that can teach this course. I can't do it. So we had to turn them down. Well, it turns out that shuttle launch scrubbed. They had some kind of technical issue, you know, the way things go. So they didn't do the launch. But a few minutes later, they rescheduled it and they invited us again. And we were able to go. We drove all the way down to Kennedy Space Center to watch the launch. They scrubbed it the first night. Seems like they scrubbed it maybe the second night. They had one more chance, and it was on a Sunday night. They said, you know, this is, or maybe it's Saturday. I don't remember. But they said, this is it. If it doesn't do now, we're not going to get to do the launch. Well, it launched. It was the very last nighttime launch they ever had of a space shuttle. And we got to stay right in the VIP section, right there at the Space Center and watch it go up. And it was one of the most amazing things I've ever done. The problem was we had work and school and things like that right afterwards. So the second that launch was over, we hopped in the car and drove all night long from Kennedy Space Center back to Houston, trying to get home. And you know, wife and I were in the car, keeping each other awake and being safe and everything else. But that was a long drive, driving 4 o'clock in the morning through Birmingham or through Mobile, Alabama, places like that. Just a long trip. But it was well worth it. I was so happy I got to see that space shuttle launch. It was so cool. Driving from Florida to California. All right, you got me beat. I've never, Andy, that's further than I've ever driven and further than I ever really want to drive. That sounds like quite the task there. All right, so let's see. Moss, I don't know anyone named Cliff that doesn't have a last name of Hogg. Well, hey, I'm an original. I'm a unique one. We'll just call it that. All right, Dawn. Curious how you came up with the numbers 1, 4, 3 for the intro. I'll throw that in real quick, and then we'll talk about some real intro perhaps as well. 1, 4, 3 is shorthand for I love you. And there's a couple of things. Back when people had beepers and pagers, I had a beeper for a while back in the late 80s, I guess. But 143 was code that you would send to someone, 143, I love you. And it's because there's 1 letter in the word I, there's 4 letters in the word love, and there's 3 letters in the word you. And so it was just shorthand there. But the other person who used 143 was Mr. Rogers. And Mr. Rogers actually we saw a documentary. In fact, it was while I was packing to go on to the show Big Brother. We watched a documentary on Mr. Rogers, and he talked about, 143 all the time. And so I told my wife at the time, I said, I'm going to get a chance. I'm going to call you. When I say 143, you're going to know what I'm talking about. And so that was where we got it from, was Mr. Rogers. So that was kind of cool. I didn't know it'd take off like it was. It was just an inside thing for my wife and kids. And, you know, I added the initials of their names in front of it. But I didn't expect it to become a buzzword or something I'm associated with. It was just me throwing it out to my wife and kids. So SKD 143, that's where it comes from. And Ma saying at that point, just take a plane. Yeah, you're probably right. That's a long way to go. I've always thought it'd be fun to take a train, take the Amtrak from one coast to the other and just sit on a train and sleep and all that. But apparently it takes forever. And I've ridden a train once or twice, mainly in foreign countries, not here. But you know, somewhere down the road, 30 or 40 years from now, when I'm retired, maybe it'd be fun just to get on and just, hey, maybe don't even schedule. Just get on a train and say, hey, wherever you take me, take me. Just let me know when we get there. When you get to the end of the line before we turn the train around, let me know, and I'll pop out. I'll just walk around, see where I am, see if I can figure out where I'm at, and then I'll come back home. Yeah, Lori, I threw at it a lot. Once I knew it kind of got people's attention, of course, I'm gonna milk it for everything I can. But no, it's just my way of communicating with my family. And Ma saying I missed Mr. Rogers. You know what? Mr. Rogers' widow, and I can't remember her first name, Mrs. Rogers. We'll just leave it at that. But she passed away last week. So yeah, they talked a lot about her in the documentary as well. And so yeah, I was of the generation for Mr. Rogers. You know, when did he come out? In the mid '60s or something? So I was the perfect age for Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street, the Electric Company. I was there for the start of all of them, and I remember them all as well. All right, let's see. I missed one. Let me go back. Lori says, hey, my daughter, wow, designed the Exhibition Edition 19 mission patch, and we watched live from Houston. Well, that's pretty cool, Lori. Those patches, we've got the ones for the shuttle launches that we watched, and the ones where we had astronauts that were on those flights and tried to keep most of those. That's really cool. That's kind of a cool claim to fame, claim to notoriety to design one of those patches, because there's a lot that go into those patches. Every little detail in there has something to do, some symbolism of the flight and everything else. And Don's saying, yeah, I've heard of beepers from Eric. Yeah, Eric's not old enough to have beepers. Maybe he will. I don't think so. But yeah, beepers. Oh, yeah. I tell you what, when you had, back in the day, this is again in the 80s, if you had a beeper, you were important, because the only people who had beepers were doctors and people that couldn't afford to be away, that were so important that they had to be at just a phone call away. So I had my beeper. I carried it on my belt and made sure it was out where everyone could see. Wear it into the nightclubs or something. Yeah, before the wife. Go into the nightclubs with my beeper on, and I just walk a little bit of swagger, say, yeah, here's my beeper. Go ahead, look, and why don't you ask me what I do that I need to have a beeper? So it was a thing of notoriety back then. I don't know what the replacement is or the equivalent is nowadays. Out of the latest iPhone 12 or something, maybe if you've got that, it's close, but even that's not quite the thing. And then after that, I think we've talked about this show before, so I won't talk a lot about it, but when I had a cell phone in my car, it wasn't a cell phone, it was a mobile, a big old brick, and it sat in the little hump of my car. But when I had an actual mobile phone in my car that I could use while I was out in the field, that was pretty important. That was pretty big. They charged for a fortune. I remember how much it cost to make phone calls from there, but I'd call every once in a while, my wife just say, hey, I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I'm getting ready to come home. So just wanted to let you know. It was pretty cool. All right, let's see. What else? Let me scoot back up again. She is now a Google Doodler. All right, Dawn, YouTube is buffering. Ooh, I don't know what you're missing, because I don't know what you've missed. But hopefully it picks up a little bit better. And hopefully, maybe not for you. I was going to say, hopefully it's just a problem on your end and not our end. That sounds kind of cold to say that. But if anyone else is having issues as well, then let me know. I hope it's not my signal. You never know. I mean, it's internet. We're so dependent. Can you imagine COVID? We've spent the last year, so many of us in lockdown. And even if you're not 100% in lockdown, staying at home as much as you can and all that. Can you picture all of this without 150 channels on TV, without the internet, without cell phones, with nothing but just a couple of channels on TV and your telephone to interact with? It would have been a lot tougher to be isolated back in another generation, back in another decade. All right, I'm going to try scoot up and catch these again. Scooby 2, have you ever been to Wisconsin? I have never been to Wisconsin. I would love to go. Man, I'd love to go and catch a Green Bay Packers game one of these days. One of the teams I've always kind of cheered for, just because the Cowboys and the Packers back in the Ice Bowl in '67 and all that. But now I've never been to Wisconsin, but I'd love to come up there one of these days. Hey, what was it? Laverne and Shirley was Wisconsin. I always remember their intro theme for the show and everything else. All right, let's see. Somebody miss your Cliff Notes. Well, thank you. I'm trying to replace it as much as I can. I got mine from Mountain Dew, Cliff. I'm reading too many of these calls. Lori, I miss your Cliff. Thank you so much. Like I say, this is as close as you can come. I'd love to be back in the house. If I get back in, I promise I'll do a little rambling along the way. Yeah, 911 meant call immediately. I got yours from Mountain Dew. That's pretty fancy. They have logos on the side and everything else. All right, let's see. Good for everyone else. That works good. David Mama, my uncle works for NASA in Houston. He tells all the shuttle missions. Yeah, it was so cool. My kids, when they're little, like in kindergarten, first grade, they'd be going to school, and an astronaut, what was his first? Hayes. A couple of astronauts would just be walking down the hallways, picking up their grandkids from class and everything else. Just the most normal, regular people And yet they were, they'd been to the moon, they'd circled around the moon, things like that. It's just the distinct, dichotomy, is that the right word? Maybe not. That someone so normal could do something so extraordinary as well just always blows me away. All right. Someone who was saying that, Ma saying Mickey's in rehab. I had not heard that. I'd heard that he came on, was at TikTok, and talked about that he had some addictions going into the house. I didn't know that going in. It was he was very Jekyll and Hyde at times. He certainly had the short fuse every once in a while and things like that. And but I never knew for certain. He talked in the house a little bit about, he took some things here and there, but active addictions and things like that. I didn't have a clue if he, and I haven't heard anything about him being in rehab now. If that's the case, or even if it's not official rehab, but just, he's kicked some of the stuff that he was dealing with back then. More power to him, man. Thoughts and prayers to him. I don't think it's always an easy struggle, and I certainly hope that he, well, we all know it's perfect, and if he's doing what it takes to improve just a little bit, and fix his life and fix some addictions, and everything, then I am all for him. He's got my full support, and I hope it works out well. That's tough. That's got to be hard, and I cannot imagine, as stressful as it was in that house, having to also deal with your own personal demons at the same time. God, that'd be tough. That'd be hard. I don't know. Maybe in some ways it makes it easier. Does it, if you get off some of this stuff, does it make you more, I don't know, more focused or more awake, or I don't know, but it was hard enough in there without having to deal with anything else. My addiction when I was in the house was coffee, and that works fine with me. In fact, not that I practice segues or anything like that, but I think that is a perfect opportunity to move into a little bit about this day. Well, not this day in history. Today is National What? I always do that, and then I just kind of moved on. And we'll talk about him some more if y'all want to. Yeah, and I'm going to talk about Robin as well. See, Parker mentioned that. Watermelon overdoses. It'd take a lot of watermelon to overdose on it, but if you could, I think we probably all would have in there, because we ate a lot of watermelon. Not as much as Mickey, but we all ate a bit. But now let me talk about today in National Recognition Day, because we're talking about coffee a little bit. Did y'all know that today is National Irish Coffee Day? Yes, indeed. What's Irish coffee? Coffee, a little bit of rye or whiskey, a little bit of cream thrown in there as well. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of mixing my coffee and my alcohol. I drink my coffee to just kind of wake up in the morning and everything else, and I typically am not a big fan of drinking alcohol first thing in the morning. So I don't normally mix my coffees and my liquors to any large degree. If it's, and plus, I'm down here in Houston where it's 81 degrees. An Irish coffee, it doesn't sound like the best. If I'm freezing cold, if I really want to kind of wake my insides up with a little alcoholed, liquefied drink, my two go-tos are either a hot toddy, which is so good, or a mulled wine, warmed up mulled wine. And the first time I really had the mulled wines, I was over in Vienna, Austria. We had a big oil field conference that I was doing a presentation at. Not a bad place to go to do some presentations. So I went over there, and it was right before Christmas. So they had these big Christmas markets all over town. And I mean, just like every block, every little neighborhood had their own Christmas market, and all kinds of decorations and food and just music. It was just so beautiful. You go there at night. But they also had mulled wines, and every little street Christmas market had their own souvenir mug. I kept one of them because I figured I was going to talk about that. I don't know how well y'all can see this, but this is Vienna Christmas markets. Don't ask me to read that all. Like Radio Wien, which is Vienna. Christmas market. Anyway, they'd have these things, and you'd pay like $3 for a mug, for one of those mugs that came with the mulled wine. The idea was that when you finished drinking, you could give the mug back. They'd refill it for another $1. Or if you turn the mug back in, then you'd get your $2 back. And so it's just like recycled mugs or whatever. Don't think they do that in the days of COVID necessarily, but back then they did it. But for me, it was fantastic souvenirs. I would just go from market to market. I spent a whole night doing it. I went to a market. I'd get my mug. I'd drink a glass of mulled wine while I walked around. Wouldn't turn the mug in. I would just put it in a backpack I'd have. I'd walk down a couple of blocks to the next market, go buy another mug, drink another glass of mulled wine, get another souvenir glass. And by the end of the evening, I got back to my hotel room. I had, I don't know, 7 or 8 mugs of these Christmas markets, all different ones, in my backpack. And wasn't easy to get back home, wrapping them all up so they didn't break and everything else. But that's not a bad way. I guess that's their version of bar hopping. But yeah, the mulled wines were fantastic. So I do that more than I do Irish coffee, Irish coffee. The other thing, when it comes to coffee, now here's my favorite coffee drink, and I don't know how many of y'all have tried this or not. Capone, I only drink iced coffee. I can't get it. I'm not big into iced coffee drinks. I like them hot or super hot and super caffeinated and everything. But the kind of coffee I really drink, really like, other than just straight up black, caffeinated American coffee. But the other one I like is Turkish coffee. And I don't know if y'all have ever had it or know what it is, but Turkish coffee, the coffee is ground up into just almost a texture of talcum powder, just finely ground coffee grounds. The water is actually boiled, or the coffee grounds are added to the boiling water. There's no filter or anything else. It's just all boiled together. You drink it, it's almost like espresso or something because it's so concentrated in the caffeine and everything. But when you drink it, you don't drink the last little bit because at the bottom is just this sludge. It looks like syrup or something. It's all these coffee grounds at the end. So you drink about 3/4 of it, and then you leave the last little bit. And it is so good. It's so tasty. It's got just a little bit of an earthy, a cinnamon taste that goes along with the coffee. And where I drank that, even though it's called Turkish coffee, I've never been to Turkey, but this was in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. I was visiting ADOC, which is the oil company over there. And as soon as you'd sit down, they had these little coffee kids, coffee boys that would come all around the offices, and their whole job all day long, I think it's probably like 12, 13-year-old kids working, I guess, summer or whatever. But they'd come through, and their whole job was to carry these coffees. And if you wanted one, you'd raise your hand, they'd bring it over, you'd get you a little coffee, you'd drink it. When you got done, they'd come back by again, and you could sit there all day long drinking this coffee. It's like drinking espressos all day long. By the end of the day, 4:30, 5 o'clock, it's like, yeah, another 24 hours. I'm not going to sleep anytime soon. Let's just get this job done, the proposals put together and everything else. So Turkish coffees are fantastic. I wish I need to fix more because it's such a great way to drink. Angie's saying Turkish coffee is amazing. Have it all the time in England. I need to look for it more when I go overseas and all that, because I don't drink near as much with that. But Don saying I think it'd be more of a tea drinker rather than a coffee maker or a coffee drinker. Well, that's what was funny inside the Big Brother house, because Mickey and myself, we were huge coffee drinkers. I think some other people in the house drank coffee as well, but Mickey and I were the main ones. And then Nicole was the tea drinker. She drank hot tea all the time. And so she drank a lot of that. Mickey, he would always, because Mickey was up every few hours fixing food and everything else, but he would fix coffee for himself and me at 5 o'clock in the morning or so. So when I got up in the morning to do my Cliff Notes, most of the time there was already coffee made. And I always appreciate that. It was very nice of him to do. But when I did my Cliff Notes, I'd always sit there with my coffee and just drink my morning coffee while I talked to all y'all on the live feeds. And it was great. We did have one of the better pranks, and didn't have anything to do with this. I think it was the day of the veto competition, the Froggy style, where it was, I think Jessica and Kimmy were the two people on the block. On that particular, I think it was that day. On that day, Mickey always drank a lot of coffee when it was a competition day, so he could get alert and focused and everything he does. David, without telling anyone, switched out the caffeinated coffee for decaf coffee. And so Mickey is sitting there drinking as much coffee as he can all day long. And he didn't find out till later. I think maybe even after David was out of the house, he realized that he'd been drinking decaf all day long. And he complained. He said, I'm tired. I just can't, this coffee isn't keeping me alert for whatever reason. Well, then later, I think maybe David told someone what he'd done. Mickey wasn't real happy that he had drunk all this coffee for basically no reason at all. For me, I thought it was kind of funny. Whatever. It was a pretty funny. It was actually a pretty funny prank. I told David when I got out, I said, yeah, we talked about that for a while. That was a lot of fun. That was pretty funny. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right, Megan, why Jumanji? I'll talk to you in just a second. Let me go through these comments and I'll talk about that. That does sound like he was in withdrawal in the house. Anthony's saying, Could be. Very well could be. I mean, I've seen where he said that he had taken some stuff even right before he got in the house. Again, it's hard enough to play that game as it is. So, that seems dangerous. That seems really very. I'm glad he was okay and made it through that house, because that was a little tough. And the other comment and so on. Yeah, we'll talk about this before we talk about Jumanji. Yeah, Becky, I will talk about it. I was wondering if anyone's going to notice that. Let's see. All right. Gosh, I'm so far behind, guys, on some of this. Someone mentioned Robin Cass, and I don't even see it on now. Yeah, I saw the note. Robin Cass is not going to be participating on season 23. Yeah, I've seen some people say, oh, she got fired, and other people say, maybe she just walked away. Who knows? I don't know. And I don't know if it's permanent. I don't know if it's just a one-season deal and then she comes back on board. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But she's still cast for Big Brother Canada that's coming up, as far as I know. And she's done her other shows. And I've got to say, meeting Robin during the auditions was absolutely incredible. It was amazing because I knew who she was. I mean, I'm enough of a fan. I knew who Robin was. And before I ever came out to LA for my auditions, I was contacted and they said, we want you to come out. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. And the person I was talking to said, do you have a second just to talk to Robin? I said, yeah, sure. And so I talked to Robin Cass on the phone, who said, yeah, Cliff, we want you to come out and visit with us. And it's like talking to royalty. I'm amazed that I was able to get the words out of my mouth. But talked to her just a second. And then during the finals of the auditions, I saw her several times out there, and she was always so incredibly nice and everything. And the team that she assembled, and if you haven't been through the audition process, you may not realize how many people are part of her company that all work together and coordinate everything. And they're the ones that go out and do these casting calls all over the country and all that. The team she assembled, so just some incredible people, some incredibly nice people that I got to know some of them. So, yeah, there's a part of me that is, I hate that she's gone because, I mean, she's the one who brought me in. So, that I got a special spot in my heart for Robin and her entire team. But yeah, she's taking a break for this season, and we'll see what happens. I mean, it happened before. Was it Big Brother Over the Top? And there may have been one other season where she didn't do the casting, and then she came back again. So that's just like the twist and everything else with Big Brother. Yeah, you change things up every once in a while. And there's not anything ever wrong with that. But I was kind of surprised when I saw that, and I already posted things saying, Robin, you always be a special spot in my heart, and best wishes for wherever you may end up, where you may go. I'm going to go out to California one of these days. I just want to come visit her in her office, and I want to get the inside scoop. I would love to sit down with her, and she probably won't tell me. I bet she won't, but I'd love to sit down and say, hey, tell me of us 16 in the house. Which ones were locks? Which ones of us were just barely squeezed in? And which one of us do you wish you hadn't cast? Which one of us do you wish you could have cloned to put a couple more of us in there just like that? I'd love to pick her brain, not just about our season. Can you imagine the stories that she's got to tell that she can't tell? But just the whole casting of all the different shows she's done, it would be so much fun to hear those stories. So I don't know, maybe it'll be 20 years from now before she's willing to reveal some of these. But one of these days I'm going to ask her and see if I can't get an answer from her. So, all right, Megan. All right, I'll tell you the story about the Jumanji board, because you're right, that is Jumanji. What did we do this weekend? One of the things we did this weekend, which was so much fun, we watched all the Jumanji movies, because a black spot, a black hole in my cultural education experiences, I guess. I'd never seen Jumanji at all. And I kept hearing people say, oh, that's next level Jumanji and things like that. And so Sharon and I kind of binged all the Jumanji shows. We watched the one from, was it 95 with Robin Williams? We watched that one. Then we turned around and watched the one from 2017 with Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson and Jack Black and everything. And then we watched the one from 2019 that has them as well. So we watched three different Jumanji movies. And I've got to say, and I'm not going to give any spoilers away or anything like that, because I don't know, some of y'all may not have watched a show that came out 25 years ago. So you never know. But of all of them, I love Robin Williams. Was such an incredible comedian, and I love I love all the shows he did. But in this particular situation, my favorite Jumanji of all of them was the one that came out in 2017. The first one with Kevin Hart, Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black. I gotta say, Kevin Hart. They were all funny. Jack Black's always funny, but Kevin Hart was hilarious. I've always liked him. I've liked his comedy routines and everything else, but he just had us laughing from start to finish while we watched that show. So yeah, we watched a whole bunch of Jumanji, and in honor of that, I figured this was just a perfect kind of backdrop to it. Man, 2020 was like one giant Jumanji movie. It seems like in some ways we need to, if you hear the drums beating, figure out how you can finish this game up. Maybe it'll wrap up here in 2021. So yeah, it was that's where that came from. Megan was just an endorsement for those of you who hadn't seen Jumanji yet. Go ahead and check it out. It was a cool concept. I really liked it. Lori H, OMG, home since March. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, Lori. We started our COVID isolations March 21st. That's when Sharon and I were really said, all right, that's it. We're going to just lock ourselves inside. We're not going to the stores or anything else for a while until this stuff wraps up. Little did we know at the time it was going to take as long as it did, or as it is taking. We figured, yeah, a month or two, and we'll kind of get this stuff passed and get over the bubble and all that, and it'll be much better. But yeah, it's been a while since we've been at home. All right, let's see what else is going on. Haven't been watching Survivor, so I haven't popped in here in a while. Yeah, Survivor. I miss Survivor. That's cool. The challenge. Everyone's still watching the challenge. Yeah, Anthony asking about that. That's interesting. Cam. Well, I don't want to spoil too much for those of you if you haven't seen it. I've already posted my recap of last week's episode out on my YouTube channel. So I don't know, go this way, I guess, and you can find my videos and watch it. But yeah, it's interesting. I think I've talked about this before. The idea of if you got newbies, you've got vets, you've got the Big Brother people that kind of seem to have their own little group all amongst the other people. It's fun. I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying this last week, the competitions they did, oh my God, a 5-mile race with your partner, and not just on a road. You're going through little rough terrain, freezing cold rivers that look miserable. And it's 5 miles. Now, that by itself pretty much sounds horrible. But now you got to carry this big old log or cylinder or whatever, about 6 feet long with your partner. And that'd be a tough one. That would be hard. I've tried. I've been running and I need to do some more running, but I've done 8 kilometers, which is 4.8 miles. So I've run almost 5 miles, not fast. And I sure haven't been carrying a 6-foot log on my back. I got enough weight I'm carrying just all by my lonesome without having to deal with that. So those are the kind of races that I think at the starting point when they said, yeah, Cliff, we just need you to run from here to that place way up on the mountain 5 miles away. Oh, and carry this log with you. That's probably why I just would have said, yeah, you better let me start now, because otherwise just come back and get me tomorrow, and I'll probably be there hopefully be there by tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah, but it was an intense week. There's some weeks of that show where the challenges are, they flew a drone one time, and I think, yeah, I could do that. That'd be perfect. Then you see episodes like this where I just think, oh my gosh, take the challenges we did in Big Brother, the slip and slide, which was fun, but I didn't win, but it was fun to do. But then just multiply that exponentially with some of the stuff they do. And it's just incredible, the athletes we get on that show. All right, let's see. Do we already know? Let's see. Let's see what else. I'm trying to look through here, guys, as we go. I've got a story from last week. I was going to tell y'all about cowboy hats, and I'll have one coffee a week, and it's Dunkin' iced coffee. I even get iced coffee in the winter. Hey, I get hot drinks in the summer, Don, so I'm not going to judge you at all. Your body accommodates to what's going on. Ma says, too young to drink legally in America, almost legal to drink in Europe. Don't be in big a hurry. You got plenty of time for that on down the road. Ma, it's there are a lot of goofballs when it comes to drinking that takes a lot of education. Some people never learn. Everything in moderation works fine. Just keep that in the back of your mind when you turn 21. And don't be in too big a hurry. All right, let's see. I think I'd be more of a tea drinker rather than a coffee drinker. Who said that? The comments are going so quick, so I apologize. I love Robin Williams in that film. Yeah, I like Robin, but I like the sequel even better. Yeah, Capone, the sequel for the remake, which was the next level, I think, came out in 2019. It was good, but I didn't think it was good as the one from 2017, which was Welcome to the Jungle. Here I am, the expert on Jumanji. Who would have thought that a week ago? Yeah, Ma saying R.I.P. Robin Williams. I'll tell y'all a movie. I mean, I like Robin Williams in Aladdin and so many of the shows he's done. I watched him in the original Mork and Mindy way back. I saw him when he premiered on Happy Days, a special episode and all that. But one of the movies that Robin Williams was in that a lot of people don't know a lot about that I've always liked is Bicentennial Man. Have y'all ever heard of that? I don't even know when it came out, but the whole idea is that Robin Williams plays a robot, and somehow during the manufacturing process, his chip gets corrupted a little bit, and he develops a conscience, which is kind of a cool concept. But it's him outliving people, and as he continues through life, him deciding he wants to try to become a person, and all the things he does to try to gain citizenship and emotion and everything else that goes along with being a person. And Bicentennial Man is just a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire. All right, Anthony, talking about cultural black hole, Mrs. Doubtfire is one of the movies in my life I have never seen. Maybe I need to change that. I've never seen Mrs. Doubtfire. I've never seen Sister Act. I've never seen Titanic. Those are three movies that people have said, how could you not have seen those? I don't know. I just never got around to seeing them. So there you go. Maybe I'll watch those one of these days, and I'll give you an update on that one as well. All right. Chinese people sometimes drink a blend of coffee and tea. I didn't know that, Angie. Wow, that's kind of interesting. I know in England, well, you're probably familiar with this, Angie. I know in Australia as well and everything, they drink the English breakfast tea, and they just fill it up with milk. It's like half and half, which is kind of interesting. I'd like to try that, but I've never heard of coffee and tea mixed together. I'm one of these. I go into Starbucks and I see I'll get cappuccino every once in a while, but for the most part, I'm just like, just give me the black stuff. You can put a little cream in it, but don't worry about sugar and all that stuff. I just am here for the caffeine. So don't worry about fluffing it up with anything else. Just give me the cafe Americano and I'm good to go. I'm a man of simple needs and simple desires. All right, let's see. My childhood all over again. I can't keep up with these guys. Carl said, that's my childhood all over again. Yeah, there's a long, how time flies. So how about that? I like Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Dunkin' Donuts taking over. They're getting more and more coffee going on as well. All right. Green tea. Anthony said, I guess I could maybe see that more than other teas. But anyway, all right. Let's talk about something else. I'll try to keep up with the comments as much as I can. Yeah, I know I need to see Mrs. Doubtfire, Lori. It's just, not enough hours now. I'm too busy watching Jumanji. I'm too busy watching The Challenge and every other reality show. I'm still watching reality shows from over in Australia. All right, here's the funny thing. I've talked to some of the people that were on Big Brother Australia from their last season, and we follow each other on Instagram and all that. I had one person, I'm not going to give the name because I don't know if they wanted me to know, but someone contacted me and said, hey, what are the chances that I could get on Big Brother USA? I'd love to come over as Big Brother Australia's representative and be on that show. This is just a dream I'd have. And I responded back and said, well, yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be a lot of fun. But first of all, I'm not casting director, so I can't help you too much. And secondly, as far as I know, you've got to be a U.S. citizen. So you probably got a long, hard, tough road to hoe to get onto the show over here. But if you make it, I'll be cheering you on. So yeah, it's kind of fun talking to the Big Brother community because I do know some of the Big Brother Australia people and some of the Big Brother Canada people. Not so much Brazil or France or some of the non-English speaking places that do Big Brother. Hey, they're doing a Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother up in I guess it's Quebec. I don't know if it's Montreal or not, but a French speaking version. Angie, you may know something about that. I'm not sure if I'm quite up to watching a Big Brother season. It's all in French. That I don't know. That may be a little tough to follow along with, and so much of Big Brother is focused on language and everything rather than just the competitions. So yeah, but yeah, it is kind of cool talking to people who have been on the show in other countries as well. Yeah, Ma, I've never seen Titanic. I know pretty much. I know how it ends. I mean, I know the boat kind of sinks and a whole bunch of people don't make it. I know more details than that. You can't help but pick it up. But no, I've never seen it I've seen little clips here and there. I've just never seen it from start to finish. But hey, I can stand on the front of the boat and hold my arms up and act like I've been on, I'm leading the Titanic or whatever, just like they do. So yeah, I know a lot of it. I just haven't officially seen it. Megan, I hate to spoil it for you, but I do think the ship sinks, and Yeah. I don't think there's a sequel. Let's just put it that way. All right. David saying, yeah, they're doing a French speaking version. David speaks French. So for you, it may be fantastic to watch. Me, not so much. I'd respond in French, but I don't know how to respond like that. All right. Yeah, and Angie is a Canadian non-French speaking, but having to learn French. I don't like French. Y'all are funny up in Canada because you got French and you've got English and it's required everywhere. Down here, we've got English, we've got Spanish, we've got Vietnamese, we've got Cambodia. When the ballots come out, it's so funny because we have so many different languages that are required for ballots and everything else. So you may have 2 or 3 pages of ballots in your language, but the overall ballot's 20 pages long just to accommodate, because really, especially Houston, more so than a lot of places, is such a cultural melting pot. We've got, which is fantastic when you're talking about restaurants and food. I can get more varieties of food down here in Houston than probably just about anywhere else in the world. It's amazing. And I love trying out all the different foods. So anyway, all right. I've got a story. I keep wanting to tell you, and I keep getting drug off by the comments and all that. I was going to talk last week because it was National Hat Day. Friday, a week and a half ago or so, Friday. So I was going to talk about my favorite hat, and it's not this one, but it's this one right here. This hat, I think I may have mentioned it very briefly last week, and I said I was going to follow up on the story. When I went into the house, I took 2 cowboy hats with me. I took this one, and I took a straw hat that was white. And unfortunately, the white of the straw hat messed with the cameras. It washed out the camera shots and exposures, and it just didn't work. So I wasn't allowed to actually keep that hat. It got yanked away. That's why y'all never saw me wearing my other hat inside the Big Brother house. But on day number 1, when we got picked for the camp directors, or when they had to pick the camp director, and I tried, I didn't make it. I didn't even get a single vote. Isn't that horrible? But when it came time to go outside and hear what the votes were, if y'all recall, those of us who weren't picked, we got splashed with all kinds of slime, goop, and everything else. We had no clue when we walked outside that it was going to be one of those kind of competitions. Sometimes you can tell because you're wearing different microphones, and we may have mic'd up a little bit differently, but at the time we weren't smart enough to realize that, oh, this is a waterproof mic. Maybe that means something. I don't think we really were aware of just what was going to happen. But as I walked outside to the announcement, there was another cowboy hat sitting just outside the door. And over the loudspeakers, I heard, "Hey, Cliff, why don't you switch cowboys hats out?" So, okay, well, yeah, all right, sure. So I grabbed this other hat and put it on. Took this one off. Went over. We stood in front of the platforms, and sure enough, we all got just obliterated with this slime and goop and everything else. I was standing next to Bella. They hit both of us at the same time. It blew my cowboy hat off. It knocked her down. That stuff was so viscous, just slimy and a little bit cold, and there wasn't anything fun at all about it. But I just got hit with that stuff. And I don't know if you can tell on the cameras, but there is still a bit of coloring. It may not show up on there. There's still green and pink colorings from those slimes all over this hat. And sure enough, I guess the people doing it knew that, you don't want to screw up your good cowboy hat. So they got another one for me just for that competition. And so when I came back in, I grabbed the hat and I told everyone, I said, all right, it's and you can tell it's the hat that's just like the one I've got, basically same color, same style, same brim, everything else. But it does have stains all over the front of it where I get hit with the goop. So when I got back in, we were all laughing about it, and we ended up putting this cowboy hat up high. We had some little wire structures that look like elk, like you have taxidermy, except these weren't real heads; they were wire frames. But I ended up going up the ladder that went up to the kind of the loft area, and leaning over with that, hung the cowboy hat on one of those antlers for one of the little moose or elks that were there in the living room, and we left it there all season long. From day 1 to day 99, that cowboy hat stood up there. I don't know if y'all ever saw it because it was kind of above the elevation of the cameras, and so it may not have really shown up on TV, if ever. Maybe once or twice, but it really probably didn't show up too much. But we left it there the whole time. And so when I got evicted, I told Nicole, I said, hey, Nicole, if you get a chance, grab this hat and take it out with you. I want to leave it to the very last day, but grab it with you if you would. And if not, then I'll just get them to get it later. Surely someone will grab it for me. And so when Nicole got evicted, I hated to see that, but when she got evicted, she walked out and she was actually wearing this hat and waving it around, which was really cool. I appreciate Nicole so much. I appreciated her doing that. But anyway, so I got my second cowboy hat back, and that was neat. But the next day, we had all kinds of press that night, interviews, all the stuff y'all see, the after hour, Rob has a podcast, all the other people, Ika Wong, everyone did their interviews with us. But then the next day, and we were released that night to our families and all, the next day they had a wrap party or just a party for, I guess, anyone who wanted to come at some place downtown LA that was organized by some pseudo-official type person. Anyway, so we were all welcome to go to this party and bring our families with us and everything else. And so we went. It was kind of on the red carpet. I got to have a picture taken with my family on the red carpet. And it's the first time I got to see Nicole after the event was over. And I hung with her and Ovi. It was just so much fun. But while we're there, I grabbed my hat and I had a Sharpie. And I came up to all the house guests and I asked them to sign their names. There's Tommy's. Who else is on here? You can see some on the front. There's Nicole and Kimmy, and I think that's Holly and Ovi. So anyway, I asked everyone to sign the hat, just as my kind of personal souvenir of my time in the Big Brother house. And everyone signed it. The only people who didn't sign it were Bella and Jessica, and it's because they weren't at the party. Jessica had already gone home. Bella chose not to go to the party. So I'm still missing the signatures from those two house guests. Now I'm going to get them one of these days. It would mean a lot for me to get the two of them to sign it as well. But everyone else was at the party and everyone else signed it. And I got to say, I've got a lot of souvenirs. In fact, I was going to wear one of my costumes from the season. I'll do that next week maybe. But I've got a lot of things they sent me as kind of our memento box and all that. But this hat, this means more than anything else I've got, just because it's personalized by all the different people that had that shared experience. So yeah, it was really so much fun getting that hat and knowing it sat there. Hey, the hat was in the house longer than I was. So, yeah, Nicole Anthony, Nicole. Nicole Franzel, I've never met in person. It was so hard last season having Nicole A and Nicole F because there's just one Nicole, and that was the one that was on my season. So I had to get used to referring to her as Nicole Anthony and all of that. But yeah, I'm talking about Nicole Anthony from season 21. And yes, indeed, she is a sweetheart. All right, let's see. I never wear cowboy hats, Carl says. I used to, Carl, only wear cowboy hats when I was doing cowboy kind of things. If I'm going to the rodeo, barbecue cook-offs, things like that, I'd wear my hat. If I was going somewhere where there's a lot of sun and all that, sometimes I'd wear my straw hat during the summertime. But I wear it a lot more now. Now that I was in the house and I kind of became part of me and who I am and all that, I certainly wear it even a little bit more than I used to. But I talked about during the audition process, I wear my cowboy boots every single day. Every single day I'm out of the house, I'm wearing cowboy boots. I've got multiple pairs. That's just my footwear of choice, my manly footwear. Going back to a song by, lost my train of thought. Home with the Armadillo. Anyway, I'm thinking Texas music here. Now, I wear my cowboy boots all the time, but cowboy hat's a little bit like a tuxedo. It's a little more special occasion. I would wear that when I was, again, going out and watching rodeos and things. But man, I love my cowboy hats. And again, I wear them a lot more now than I used to. Yeah, Angie owns a few cowboy hats, but more here to fit in Calgary. Yeah, I used to be the same way. I'd wear it to fit in, and then it just becomes so comfortable. It keeps and especially me, I can wear a ball cap that protects my front, but it doesn't protect the back of my neck. And y'all know me, I keep my hair fairly short, except during times of COVID. I need a haircut. But so ball cap didn't work so much on the back, but this one, if it's raining outside, man, it's like I'm wearing a little mini umbrella at times. So I love my cowboy hats. All right, let's see what I can't believe it's already 10 till. Yeah, oh good. I didn't know if you could see the colors or not. And you know what's funny? When that happened, I thought, oh my gosh, my family's not going to realize that this is not my cowboy hat, that this is a backup version. They're going to see that and they're going to have a fit that my cowboy hat on day number 1 has gotten ruined with all these colors and everything else. But I talked to them. They said, yeah, it was so funny. We saw all that on there. And then all of a sudden, a little bit later, it seemed like it was all gone. We didn't know if they cleaned it or what was going on. So yeah, it was a little different. Amanda, I'd be so anxious to get home as soon as possible after so much isolation. Oh, tell me about it. I talked on the live feeds there at the end saying, all right, Sharon, here's the deal. If y'all can't come out to California for whatever reason, tell them to get me on the first flight home, because I'm coming home as soon as they'll let me. If y'all can come out here to LA, then we'll hang out here and do some of the, see the sights and all that. And so they were able to come out, and I've talked about that before. But yeah, it was hard. And here's the thing that a lot of people, I've talked a little bit about before, but a lot of people don't realize, everyone else who was evicted from the house that was on the jury, they'd do their interviews and everything, but then they'd go to the jury house and they'd get to hang with everyone else that had already been evicted. And it was just a different life, but they were still getting to talk and associate with people and everyone else. Me, the day I got evicted, I got put away in sequester. I came back the next day and did that jury roundtable, and I met everyone for just an hour or so. And then I was put back in sequester for another week until the show ended, where I didn't get to talk to anyone. So I spent an entire, from day 93 when I was evicted till day 99, basically with zero communication with anyone. I wasn't allowed to leave my room. I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone. I wasn't allowed to watch TV, have any connection, cell phones, or not a word. I had a DVD to keep me company with a few movies, things like that. So yeah, the isolation was horrible, especially when you know that your game is over. You just want to be done and head on out the door and get back home to the family and things like that. Yeah. And thank you. My mom is out here. Howdy, Mom. And she mentions that Jessica was on the Bold and the Beautiful, and that's why she wasn't on the show. I figure it's because she wanted to get back home to her family, but you're probably right, because she did do Bold and Beautiful like just a few days later. So that very well could be why she wasn't there. But I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna grab Kat maybe and go up and visit Jessica up in Chicago one of these days. Or I don't know. I think she travels around or used to travel around doing some of her modeling. I'm gonna get her to sign that hat. And Bella just celebrated birthday like 2 days ago. So I sent her some texts and say happy birthday. And we talked for just a tiny little bit. But if I ever get out to California, I'm gonna have to track her down and get that hat signed also. Anthony, give Sharon the note to remind you about the costume. Yeah. Anthony, you got me figured out. If you want something done, I need to remind my wife to remind me, because otherwise sometimes it just doesn't always it doesn't quite happen. But I'll try to make a note. I'll try to remember it. Yeah, Jessica was on Bold and Beautiful. She played an event planner, a caterer. Seems like she came in. It's a quick little scene where she just comes into an office and talks about doing her thing. I think every season it seems like someone goes on Bold and Beautiful. It's just kind of a crossover and does their little bit. They're not just an extra. It's actually a speaking part, but it's pretty quick. It's like one scene and they do the thing. I think this year it was Davon who went on and did it as well. So she did Bold and Beautiful, which was kind of cool. I would have done it. I guess Bold and Beautiful didn't really have a place for an old cowboy to come into their particular office and talk. I don't know. I could have. Enzo this season had his cow. I could have walked in there with a stuffed cow and said, yeah, where do you want this? I'm the decorator. Where do you want the cow prints or something? But nah, they got Jessica. She was pretty good at it. Jessica's a model, so I think they figured she had some more exposure before the cameras than the rest of us had. All right, let's see. Hey, Lord, you may be late, but here's the deal. This will all be recorded and posted out there. You can catch up, watch it a little bit later. I love YouTube. I love being able to do shows, but then it's kind of saved, so people can always catch up later if they want to. Lori, did your family yell at the screen when you were in the house? Oh, yeah. And Kelly and Daniel, my kids, were on a couple of weeks ago, and they talked a little bit about it. It was very much a roller coaster situation for my family. You think about it, that day that I was evicted, and they knew I was probably going to get evicted. I didn't know, but I suspected. But they knew, so they see me get evicted, and then on live TV, they think I'm probably gone and coming home, because I'm competing against some younger and more athletic people than me. But they're thinking I'm coming home. They see me get evicted. Then they see on live TV the battle back competition, which I won. That's so glorious. So now they know that I'm safe for another week. And then later they're watching the live feeds. The live feeds cut away because, the way they always do on Thursdays. And suddenly the live feeds come back on and I'm wearing the HOH key around my neck. And now they know not only did I fight my way back into the house, but now I'm HOH for the next week and protected for yet another week. So yeah, there was a big emotional roller coaster for my family watching this. And of course, they saw Christy overheard me, and they saw all the goods, they saw all the bads. It's tough to be a family member watching the show, and so yeah, I think they did a lot of yelling at the TV screen. Capone, is that a routine thing for? Yeah, and they saw me twerking, which again, I think that's a very loose definition of what I did. My body doesn't move that way. They should have known. I don't think anyone expected me to be Dancing with the Stars level twerking. They expected me to be more of a Bernie Sanders level of twerking when you get right down to it. But yeah, Capone, Cliff, is that a routine thing for fourth place contestants to not get to go to the jury house? Yes, and I didn't know that. I consider myself a fan, but I didn't know it. I was so surprised when I got booted and they were driving me off, and I said, "So are we going to the jury house?" No, you're not going to the jury house. We got round table tomorrow, and it's not worth driving you that far. We're just going to park you at a sequester spot instead. I had no clue. I always thought that up until the final three, everyone went to the jury house. But no, that wasn't the case. And apparently that's, I don't want to say never, because maybe way back it was, but for the past few seasons, the fourth place person has not gone to the jury house. And I hear people talk about, I think Sam was doing on Instagram a while back, talking about how incredible, sorry, Sam, it wasn't Sam because he didn't go to jury house. Who was it? Nick, maybe. Nick was talking about how amazing it was to be in the jury house. Of course, Nick had his own things going on in jury house. He was dating a cat a little bit while he's in jury house and all that. So Nick said he had a lot of fun in jury house, which sounds like he did. But he talked about how incredible it was where you didn't have the cameras on you, where you're hanging out with everyone. The pressure was off of the Big Brother house. I got to say, on a personal level, I would have liked to have seen the jury house just because it looked like a huge, big old mansion, which would be kind of cool to hang out in. But as much as I loved hanging around with everyone else, once my game was over, if the cameras aren't on me, if there's no competition going on, everything else, I just want to get home to my family. It would have driven me crazy to continually have to hang out with everyone after all of it was over. I mean, I love them all. They're my friends. They're my extended Big Brother family and all that. But once it was over, I just wanted to get home to my real family. But everyone talks about how incredible the jury house is. But yeah, the fourth place person never gets to go. But that's okay. I still would have taken fourth place rather than go out fifth place and say, I spent a week in the jury house. No. Give me as much time in the house as you possibly give me, and I'm never going to complain about that. All right, let's see what else we've got before we have to shut this thing down. Yeah, not fair, but that's okay. I'm not complaining. I'm truly not complaining. My respects go to everyone who's ever gotten fourth place in seasons ever. You know what's funny, Ma, is now that I finished fourth place, past seasons, someone who finished fourth, like Kevin Schlubber, finished fourth place. All the other people, Christmas, I think, was fourth place this year. All the people who finished fourth place, I just feel like I've got a relationship, a common affinity of reaching out to them and saying, I get it. Yeah, it's so close, and yet we didn't quite make it, and yet we played most of the game. I just feel like all the fourth place finishers just have something in common. I'm probably the third place finishers. Nicole probably feels that same way with Nicole Franzel and other third place finishers as well. But yeah, I always have a special spot in my heart for fellow fourth placers in Big Brother. And yeah, Christmas was fourth. She was not happy, was she? Nicole wasn't happy being third place either, Franzel. So you fight to the very end. All right. Cliff, being the physical specimen that you are, did you train at all before your season? Yeah, a little bit. It helped. I was actually trying to. Sorry, we're gonna have to shut down here quick. But yeah, Hayden, I did. I had already picked up running before I even knew I was going to be on the show, just because I thought it'd be better. And I tried even while I was in the house to run a little bit, but it's hard to do inside there. And then when I messed up my calf during day 31, 32, from that point on, I guess it's day 32. From that point on, it's a little tough to even run, and I kind of just stopped doing it. But I tried to do that. Here's the other things I did to try to increase my chances from competition standpoint. I had one of the hand exercisers, and the whole time I was in sequester before the show started, I just practiced on my grip over and over, thinking there's so many of these competitions where you have to have a strong grip. So I worked on that. while I was in the house, here's something y'all may not know, and then we'll shut it down to this. One of the things, while I was inside the house, I did not trim my fingernails. I let my fingernails grow so long. They look like you could have put a French manicure or something on them. I mean, they were long nails, because my thinking was, any of these competitions where you have to grip something, like Color Wars was the day one competition that Christy won for the HOH. Those logs we hang on to, they're kind of a foam rubber. They've got some give. And so after trying that one, I thought, man, if I've got fingernails that I can dig into this squishy stuff to help me hold on like a whole bunch of hooks, why not? So I didn't trim my fingernails in that house until maybe after I was evicted. And I had maybe I did a little bit, but not too much. But it was all about just trying to increase my grip, just in case there was a point where I was going to have to hang on to something else and needed just a little bit more strength to go with it. So some people work out, some people lift weights and everything else. Old boss Hogg, he just grows his fingernails long and says, I hope that helps. So, all right, guys, it's 8 o'clock. Let me look through these real quick, but we'll have to come back. Yeah, fourth place party would be a lot. I want to meet all the fellow Big Brother people who have ever played the game. And over time, eventually, hopefully I will. The ones that I loved watching, the ones I was cheering against, that doesn't matter. I want to meet them all and just compare notes and everything else. So let's see. Darned injury. Yeah, that injury was not much fun. And people accuse me of well, I kind of did milk it. People like Tommy and them wondered if it was really an injury. It was really an injury. They did question as well whether it was as bad as it was. At the start, it was every bit as bad as it was. I could barely walk on it. By the end, it got healed up a little quicker than I let on. I was using it as a little bit of a sympathy towards the end. And I think Tommy may have suspected. Tommy was a good player. There's a reason that I was ready to get Tommy out of that house. But Tommy suspected that maybe my injury had healed up a little quicker than it did. And he was right. But hey, you do what you can in that house to survive. All right. Let's see. Christmas had a dang boot on her foot most of her season, made the final. I know. She won a running competition with it. Isn't that screwy? We'll talk about Big Brother 19 one of these days, and some of the things that happened in that house. It was amazing. I went in saying, I'm not going to do this like Big Brother 19. There's no way I'm going to throw comps the way some of those people did. There's just no way. Angie, can you stay an extra hour? I'd love to, but here's the thing. If I start staying an extra hour, then y'all know me. I'll talk forever. That extra hour will turn into an extra hour. It'll just keep on going further and further. Rather than doing an extra hour, I'd rather just do an extra show somewhere down the road. Maybe we'll consider that as well. But yeah, I'll go ahead and shut it down. And you know, there's people. I know there's people on the East Coast. A few people who've said they get their cell phone a little bit longer than they have curfews and work and everything else. And so we'll pick it up again. And next time I'll try to bring costume. I'll remind the wife to make sure. That's a good thing about before the wife. There's all kinds of things I forgot. After the wife, someone keeps me in line and keeps me up to speed when I can't do it myself. All right, guys, it's 8:04. I'll talk another hour if I get a chance. So I'm going to shut it down. I hope y'all have a fantastic week. Again, another episode of the challenge, I assume, is on Wednesday. So I'll try Thursday to drop a recap episode on that. In the meanwhile, if anything crazy happens with Big Brother, I'll try to keep up on that. We can talk about it on Instagram or Twitter. Y'all have a fantastic week. I will see y'all next Monday. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Talk to y'all then. Bye. Cheers. Bye.